in South Africa. We've heard a lot about you internationally. You've got quite a name going ahead of you.
Dangerous.
Don't look so surprised. Yes. But it's a privilege to have you here. And thank you for coming over to South Africa. Hope you can teach us something. Martin is a distant neighbor of me. And the system we're going to see today, or some of it, he actually started. It's a permanent cover crop under lucerne. So we establish lucerne in our fields, and when we plant our wheat, we just burn it down with the paraquat just to take out the grasses, but the aim is to keep the lucerne there, not to kill it off. We plant the wheat in the lucerne, and they grow together. And sometimes people get nervous when they see that. They would say, well, what about the end of the year? Rains are falling away, but I can tell you, even in the 2 years ago, we had 2 dry years in a row. And the areas where the lucerne was in the wheat looked best. And the areas where there was no lucerne, the wheat was chopping off. They were struggling. So this improvement in the soil that we saw translated back to better growing conditions for the wheat as well. Now, where we come from, when I came to the farm in 91 with my dad, we were still plowing, and that went on for a couple of years. Then we switched over to cultivators, first primary cultivation, secondary cultivation, sowing the seeds, broadcast basically, and then prickle harrowing it in. That's what we did until chemical resistant weeds started to catch up with us, and that was in 2006. We just couldn't go on anymore. No herbicide was working anymore on the ryegrass, so then we switched over to conservation tillage, or no-till as we know it. It's not strictly no-till as one would find it in Paraguay or the USA, or so in other countries. I guess there's a different definition for no-till. But we started with Ausplow. We rented in planters from some of our neighbors in the Philadelphia area. They came to plant for us, and they've done so the last 7 years, except for 1 year. The progress we've seen so far is that 6 years ago we were dependent on aeroplanes for spraying and for fertilizing. We couldn't even walk in the fields in the winter because you have a very shallow profile that you're working in, and once it gets saturated you can't walk on it, you couldn't drive on it. And what we can see after 6 years doing no-till, we can fertilize, we can spray. So the weight capacity, carrying capacity of the soil has improved so much that we're not dependent on these guys anymore. And that's a big saving already for us. Our crop rotation systems, we try to be permanent in lucerne, like I said before. The year after wheat currently is basically a grazing year, as we call it. We have sheep as well, merinos, and that's the hectares they would graze on that year. And at the end of that year we would try and pasture top and take out whatever viable seed there is. Not always completely successful, but we do take out most of them. The year after that...
Explain that again, sorry. Pasture top.
Pasture top, yeah. It's a light dose of glyphosate.
Okay.
You can even use paraquat. In the flowering stage of the